Hey, what's going on? Patrick here. Today we're going to do an outfit review. And so we're going to go over this guy's outfit. We're going to talk about some changes that we can make to make this thing look a little bit better. Now, this one's a little bit special too because this is actually from another stylist. So this is somebody's after photo after they had already worked with somebody else. So what's cool about this is that we can use this to look at more of a high-level tweaks that we can make to this outfit. So first up, whoever styled this guy, like, great job. I think it's awesome, and it's probably like a lot better from where he's starting from. So that's great. However, let's take it to the next level. Let's do a couple tweaks so we can actually move this thing to 100% rather than just getting a passing grade. All right. So let's get into it. The first thing that I'm going to look at here, or the first thing that I notice, I should say, is the top here, this overshirt. So this is pretty dang wide. You can look here through the sides. If I draw a line straight down from the bottom of this guy to the armhole here, you can see that it's pretty freaking straight, right? So this is pretty dang straight, and it's making him look a little bit boxier. Now we can tell just based on his neck, right, and his legs, things like that, that he's a pretty leaner guy. And so with that being said, this is definitely not enhancing his body. If anything, it's going to be making him look a lot wider through the midsection. You can even see it kind of giving this skirt-like effect, right? See how wide it is through here and how the legs are just sticking out like this and it's sort of fanning over the hips? It's making the hips look wider as well. It's not a very masculine thing to look like, right? Typically, we want to make sure the shoulders look good and bigger and broader, and we do that by making the waist look narrower. So we can do a couple things here. The first thing, the easy answer, is we could just tailor this. So in a store or with your personal tailor, you can just have them take in the sides. That's the name of the alteration, and it does something like this. They're just going to narrow in the sides of the shirt to match your body a little bit better. Okay, so that's number one. But you can also see if they offer a slimmer fit of this thing, or you can change the size altogether. We'll come to that in a bit. The main thing is just looking at, hey, we need to narrow this sucker a little bit just so it matches the curvature of his body, cinches in his waist a little bit so he doesn't look so wide, and then therefore that will make his shoulders look broader by comparison, okay? Now this becomes doubly an issue because if you look at the pants, these are actually a little bit tight, right? And so when we're looking at the trousers, we can see that this is pretty wide, but when we come down to the trousers here, you can start to see all this tension that's happening right through here, right? And we'll zoom in a little bit more so you can really see it. But you can see these tension lines that's happening through here. You can actually see the shape of his thigh through here. You can see it bulging, and then you can also see these patterns getting warped too, right? Now, this is all happening because these are too tight. Now, pants are supposed to drape cleanly over the leg without squeezing the leg super tight, also without any excessive fabric, but this is way, way too tight because it's actually squeezing all this. Now, if this guy is going to sit down, he's probably going to burst right out of the back of these suckers, and eventually these seams on the inside, or the inseam and the outseam, are going to start to wear, and he's probably going to wear right through them. But again, it's making the item look really funky because it doesn't fit correctly. It's just too slim overall, and that's why you're seeing all those lines and that tension. You can also see that it makes his legs look skinnier than they probably should be, right? Because as a slim guy, you can see that it makes those legs look even slimmer. Now, this becomes even more of a problem when we're looking at the pants in comparison to the top. Split these up for just a second, right? So let's draw a really clean, not so clean line, right, between these two, and you'll start to really see the difference, right? You'll start to see like, wow, that top looks so much bigger in comparison to the bottom. Now, whenever you have items that are opposed in fit like this, where something is really baggy and then the other thing is really slim, it exacerbates the other item. So if you have a really, baggier top through here, it's going to make the legs look even slimmer, and vice versa. These legs being really slim, it's going to make this top feel even wider than it already is, just exacerbating the problem on both ends, right? So not a really good thing that's happening here. So whenever you're putting together an outfit, make sure that you are keeping the fit proportionate between the top and the bottom. So yes, the item should just fit overall, right? We should get this to fit this guy's body exactly the way it needs to be. However, with this being said, like, let's say you want something that's a little bit baggier or a little tighter. Make sure that the opposing item is also that same fit. If I'm wearing baggier on the top, I want to wear slightly baggier on the bottom. If I'm wearing tighter on the top, I want to wear slightly tighter on the bottom, right? Because that will make the outfit look proportionate. And it will also make it look like you're a normal human being, right? Having a guy who's torso is this wide and his thigh is this narrow looks ridiculous, because humans don't look like that, right? And so what we're trying to do is mirror and create an attractive male silhouette through clothing, right? So yeah, so just make sure that those two things are proportionate when you're putting together an outfit. Ideally, you're just making sure that everything fits overall according to your body shape specifically. Okay, so there's that. Let's move on to the bottom here. The lower legs here, besides this being too tight, you can see some of this down here. See all this stacking that's happening through the bottom through here, all this kind of crunching and stacking that's happening through the leg. This can be due to a couple reasons, but part of it is that these pants are just a little bit too long. So you can see that the fabric is stacking over the shoe here. Now that fabric stacks there and it sort of pools, but then it sort of works its way all up the leg here. If you look at the bottom here, you might not think that that's too long right out of the gate. But if I take all of this fabric through here and I push it down towards the bottom, right? If I just straighten out the leg and I push all that fabric down towards the bottom, you're going to say, oh yeah, that's a lot of excess fabric down there. And so typically when you're looking at a pant like this, we want to make sure that there is no excessive fabric other than just landing right at the shoe and a little bit below that as well, right? So you can kind of ride that line. Typically, that's going to be what's known as a quarter break. So you can kind of be between somewhere like a no break or quarter break, which is just a little fabric, a little break of fabric over the shoe, right? So a quarter fold of fabric over the shoe. This is something that you can tell your tailor. So if you want that look, you just say, hey, tailor, I would like a quarter break in these pants. He goes, great. And then just does his little thing, and that's it, okay? And hems it to the appropriate length. All right, so fixing the length would help with not only some of this pooling that's happening down here, but then also some of this stacking that's happening up through here as well, all right? Now, these pants, too, they're just a little bit tapered, which means narrow down through the leg here to be worn with this type of shoe. I might recommend getting a little bit wider near the bottom through here, just a hair, because what's happening right now is that this is kind of giving him a little bit of a clown shoe effect, right? That this is feeling so long in comparison to the really skinny ankle. Now, I understand wanting to do more modern sort of tapered looks, like that's great, but we just need to make sure it's still proportionate with the shoe itself. So as we go down, we want to make sure that the bottom of the pant, the width of it, makes sense with how big the shoe is itself, okay? So fix the bottom. I'm going to fix this through here. Now, the way that you can fix all of this tightness through here, we talked about how you fix this. You can get either a smaller inseam. So inseam is the second number, right? So if you're wearing, let's say, 32, inseam is that number right there. You can just go down in the inseam. So you can go to a 31 or a 30. And yes, they do make those. So that's one way to do it, or you can just have this hemmed up. The way to fix this right through here, and this being too tight, is you can change the fit. So fit, you can think about, just for simplistic terms, is how wide the thing is, right? And so with this, we can say, hey, instead of going for, let's say this is a skinny fit, we would go for a slim fit. Or if it's a slim fit, we would say, hey, let's go for a straight taper, a straight leg instead, right? And just by doing that, we gain a little bit more width, but we keep everything else the same. The waist measurement stays the same, and the inseam measurement stays the same too. So you could just change the fit, and you'd loosen this up a bit. Now, a really easy way to actually get this thing to fit appropriately through here without catching and kind of squeezing like he's going to burst out of it is just going up a size in the waist. So let's, again, say that this guy, just for sake of argument, is wearing a 32 waist, okay? Bumping him to a 33, what's going to happen there is that, yes, the waist will be a little looser, but think about what happens when we move a waist from here to a little bit wider. The tubes of fabric, the legs, end up getting a bit bigger, just enough so to where we might relax that thigh a little bit more. And then all we have to do is take the waist in a little bit through tailoring. So going from a 33 back to a 32, but the legs would stay exactly the same. And so that can just loosen things up just a bit, and you take the waist back in. Easy. So that's how we fix the pants. All right, and then let's go back up to the jacket too. So another thing that we would change would be the sleeve length here. So you can see the sleeve length is just a little bit long here. You can see all of this excess fabric through here. We typically want the sleeve length to end right at the break of the wrist, right? So that kind of hinging point right here at the wrist, we want it to be right about there, give or take about half an inch. We can see that this is a bit too long. Now we come to this curious point where, well, this is a little long, and even the jacket's a little long, and we know that it's too baggy all the way through the body here. Instead of tailoring this, right, which we can do, what might be smarter is to just change the size. In most of these situations, it's just the wrong size. So if he's a large here, what I would do is I would go down to a medium, and that might fit a little bit better because that would help, and it would bring up the sleeves, it would bring up the jacket a little bit further, and it would slim in the body. Most guys really overcomplicate sizing, and they think that they are a specific size. They're like, I am a medium, I am a large, and they sort of attach their identity to their size. You are not a size. And so you have to think about that every time that you go shopping. You need to play around with sizing a bit. I have everything in my closet from a medium to an extra large, and the kicker is that it fits me the exact same all the way through. And so for you, you need to be thinking about that when you're out shopping, looking and seeing, hey, is this whole thing too big, right? Because otherwise I'm just going to size down. Or we tailor something. So if it's just one thing that's a little off, we tailor it. If it's a bunch of things, then we're going to go down in size, okay? So there we go. Then, so basically, sizing this down. That would help a lot. Okay, now let's talk about just the outfit as a whole. So if we kind of zoom out on this, you'll notice two things. One thing that sprung to me was the fact that if I look at this jacket here and I look at these shoes, there's a lot of sheen to them. And when I look at these pants, there's none. And it kind of creates this weird color effect, right, through the outfit where we're looking at sheen, then we're looking at none, then we're looking at sheen. And when you're pairing an outfit, you want to make sure that that same chroma level, that same level of saturation, or for lack of a better term in this sense, sheen, is congruent all the way through the outfit, right? And so this being a little bit softer, I probably would have changed that to something with a little bit more of that sheen. And so, not to get technical, but if we had, a worsted wool trouser, that would help to give that sheen a little bit, that pant a little bit more sheen. All right, so, that feels a little bit off. The other thing that feels a little bit off is that these, although they're too tight and they look more casual, they're technically dress trousers. And so, that being said, it kind of feels off when you're wearing it with a sneaker and a hoodie. Right? If you look underneath here, you'll see this hoodie. And so I might change this pant altogether. I might just change the style of this thing to be something that is a bit more casual. So like a chino or a 5-pocket pant rather than a dress trouser. Now, it doesn't really look that bad in this situation, but technically the formality of this item specifically doesn't match the sneaker and really doesn't match the overshirt or the hoodie. So we might want to change things up, or we could do something the other way. We could use other elements to dress this whole outfit up, right? So instead of a sneaker, maybe we go for a loafer or like a dressier Chelsea boot. Instead of the hoodie, maybe we go for a polo. Just little tweaks like that all the way through the outfit. Because when you think about a hoodie, it's one of the more casual items that you could possibly wear. And so we want to make sure that everything has that same formality level through the entirety of the outfit. All right. Cool. What else? I think that's a pretty good look at things, at least in terms of fit. There's some other things here that we might want to handle, but I would say that that's a pretty good look at things in terms of just fit and body shape and overall sizing that can give you some I guess, insight into what we might be looking for to change this. Now, there's some other issues and stuff with color and all that that we won't technically go into, but just recapping this, overall, not a bad outfit. So again, whoever did this, like, great work. But if we're trying to take it to a higher level, the next level, really get an A+ on this thing, there's definitely some needles we can move in terms of both fit and color and overall formality to do so. All right, so that's a wrap for this one. Hopefully this gives you some insight into some higher level tips that you can use to help put outfits together, and always keep yourself looking awesome. All right. Hope that helps. Take care.